Hi everyone, welcome to a very special episode in Matrix Moments where we launch DMII, Digitizing Make in India, and we'll speak a lot about what it is, what DMI is all about. But before we go to DMI, right, Avnish, as you know, we are super bullish about B2B in India, and at Matrix, B2B means manufacturing, agri, exports, all kinds of supply chains. And over the past few years, we have seen significant sort of tailwinds, right, in terms of digitization, formalization, globalization of Indian supply chains. We are bullish, so we have also made 10 odd investments in this space. And as part of that, we are actually doing a report with our knowledge partners, McKinsey, where we are going and speaking with all stakeholders in B2B, the SMEs, the traders, the farmers, the startup folks who have built large companies in B2B, incumbents, policymakers, and investors to get everyone's perspective on what has led to this growth in an inflection for B2B in India and how does the next 10 years look for Indian B2B, right? And to launch that, we thought we'll start at home and would love to get your views on three questions on digitizing Make in India. The first being, given our topic is digitizing Make in India, DMII, right? What are, according to you, the broader underlying trend lines because of which we are seeing this digital inflection?
Yeah. So first of all, very excited to be here, Sudipto, aka Dada. For Matrix, B2B also means Dada, because you've made all the investments. Look, I couldn't be, it's hard to express in words how excited one feels about this, and I'll give some context. When we launched our last fund in 2018, we actually went out and told our investors that we want to invest in digitization of existing GDP, not incremental digital GDP. So we couldn't have imagined that how today we are talking about how much further along that has become, right?
Yeah.
And when you present a thesis and when you have a projection, this is one of the few times that it has reality has exceeded what we thought would happen. Now, I won't get into what incremental digital GDP means, but net it is where you are doing, like virtual goods. The real story in India that we have seen play out both in our portfolio and in various verticals is actually just the pure digitization, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't happen overnight. If you go back 5-6 years, first we had DMON that was heavily criticized, but couldn't have been a better thing for digital India. UPI exploded. Fortunately, UPI was ready at that time. Then you had the UPI 2.0 launch to take it to the next level. Along the way, and very importantly for B2B, GST came in. Again, it was criticized a lot. So these, and of course, we've always had the Jan Dhan mobile architecture. Then came COVID. And during COVID, the government actually changed the KYC norms also to allow digital KYC.
Yeah.
TikTok took off because everybody was sitting at home, and of course it got banned at something. So when you put it all together, we have always envied China and the Western world for their hard infrastructure because they've been better.
Yeah.
I think today India's soft infrastructure is the best in the world. And that's why when this all came together, it's so exciting, and it's in some ways brings out, of course, the government, I think, saw a bunch of other tailwinds coming together. The China plus one, what happened between the China trade wars, even how China has handled COVID. Today's paper, we were talks about how Apple is going to increase a lot of production. This wasn't an accident. There were actual steps taken by the government, right? But Make in India came before, but then Atmanirbhar Bharat, putting in all the PLIs. So a bunch of these things came together. And what used to be, if you think about B2B, factories, construction, all of this used to be the icky part of the Indian ecosystem that you probably wouldn't start a business in, I wouldn't start a business in. What used to be a liability has become an asset. Everybody wants to start businesses here because it's booming. So it's super exciting. I think one other point for people to remember and keep in mind is India will add in the next 5 years, how many trillion of GDP?
Between 3 to 4 trillion at least.
So let's say 3.5. What is our current GDP?
3.5.
So 75 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
What took 75 years is going to happen in the next 5 years. And a lot of it is going to be driven by all of this.
Fair, makes sense, which is why we're all excited. So for the name of this survey, we thought a lot about how do you represent the overall digitization of B2B that's happening in India, right? And the best name we could think about is Digitizing Make in India. And this is a question I'll ask a lot of people over the next 2 months. But what does Digitizing Make in India mean to you?
It's just bringing it all together, right? What has been since maybe the last 6-7 years, there's actually been a lot of talk about digital India, startup India. We spoke about all the building blocks that came in. But what is the one thing that in our 73, 74 years of existence, we have always been behind it? Manufacturing.
Yeah.
It's not like we've been behind it. I don't want, actually there are a lot of good companies, but China was winning, Vietnam was winning, Bangladesh was winning. It's frustrating actually.
Look at
Europe.
Germany, like there are manufacturing economies. India
Powerhouses.
was never a manufacturing economy.
They are
right?
powerhouses, right? And so now, digitization was happening, and now manufacturing is happening, and Atmanirbhar Bharat brought in Make in India.
Yeah.
So to me, I think it's a beautiful theme that you guys have come up with. Very excited because it's truly digitizing Make in India is in some ways, to me, the next decade of India's growth is going to be digital, is going to be manufacturing, is going to be self-sufficient. And that's what brings it all together. So very excited about it.
The third and the final question, and probably the most interesting for founders who are looking to build for India, in India, and in the sort of broader B2B space. Which sectors are you super excited about for the next decade?
That I'm going to let you answer, but I'll give you at a very macro level. Almost every sector is now fair game, right? And if I were to say, take a step back and say as a VC view, I think even consumer, commerce, all of that will. But given the theme of what we are doing here, exports, various B2B verticals, both domestic and overseas. I actually believe global products coming out of India.
Yeah.
But specifically as it comes to B2B verticals, you should talk more about it. And what are the, I guess, surveys and panels we are doing as part of this?
I think it's very interesting. So I think till now there have been a lot of marketplaces that have come in India. And as you mentioned, there are a bunch of different sectors in India where exports are exploding, right? Exports are exploding in specialty chemicals, in auto, increasingly more in pharma. We have a PLI for B2B cell manufacturing. We have now a PLI for toys. So I think exports across different verticals where India is competitive, I think that's a great theme. Second, I think for the first time, core manufacturing is also fair game, where you can actually go and build manufacturing. For example, Ola Electric is building India's largest cell manufacturing facility, right? And if you see the PLIs, there are multiple different places where you can actually go and build manufacturing, including in semiconductors, which interestingly is becoming one of the most important and rising sectors in the country, right? So if you're a founder, look at exports, look at verticals where you can build a large company, look at manufacturing where you can actually go and build manufacturing infrastructure, and then second derivative industries that are built on top of manufacturing and exports, which is logistics and supply chain, which is cross-border cross-border logistics company, Industry 4.0, companies that help providing working capital to companies which are building all of these, right? So lot of opportunities across the spectrum.
And I would only call out maybe climate tech and agri. So a lot of the other sectors kind of had some kind of play, like auto would have had auto exports. Now you will digitize it.
Yeah.
But there will be new industries like agri is a big push. We were just talking earlier, maybe with new product lines coming out of India, fruits, horticulture, stuff like that. And climate tech, you just mentioned Ola Electric. I think a bunch of EV companies, solar companies, there are so many incentives. We just read yesterday now toys has PLI. So it's just super exciting.
Great. Thank you, Avnish. And just for our audience, this is the beginning of Digitizing Make in India, DMII. Over the next 2 months, we have bunch of panel discussions across manufacturing, agri, exports, global investors, leading to a report launch, which will be closer to end of Jan or beginning of February. Across these 2 months, we'll bring voices and conversations from all stakeholders in B2B, including founders in this space and SMEs and sort of the building blocks who are actually building Make in India for us. So please stay tuned, and if you want to know more, either follow the Matrix India page or the DMII page. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in. For more Matrix Moments episodes, you can head to www.matrixpartners.in/matrixmoments. You can also follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube for more updates.